going to hit that one. It has a lot of fun.
Welcome to football years. It's the 1980-81 season and the dawn of a new footballing decade. This week, Ipswich and Villa come from nowhere to challenge the might of Liverpool.
Had a great quality of life, had a great chairman, had a bunch of fine players.
As football goes glam, we meet the original Kings of Cool managers John Bond and Malcolm Allison, who brought their subtle fashion sense to the game.
Is Malcolm Allison showing himself to the crowd in his usual style with class, isn't it? Sheer class.
Football goes Hollywood as the North American Soccer League introduces some star-spangled glitz to the beautiful game.
Every player who'd sort of come to his end of time had just decided to shoot off to America and earn themselves a bit of money.
And Hollywood goes football as a Rocky swaps his boxing mitts for a pair of goalkeeping gloves.
I was supposed to be an inept goalkeeper, so luckily I was tailor-made for the part.
After the economic catastrophe of the 70s, the early 80s brought deep recession. 3 million people were on the dole when Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher met William Hague for the first time. She soon told the world she wouldn't be accepting his dinner invitation.
The ladies not for turning.
Maggie only had eyes for new American President Ronald Reagan. But England superstar Kevin Keegan still fancied his chances. While CND marched for peace, football terraces were a battleground. The game was in the doldrums, hooliganism was up, attendances were down, but football still had its heroes. Liverpool were the Manchester United of the day. They'd won 4 of the previous 5 championships as well as European Cups. They were the team to beat. Liverpool faced an early season test when they took on East Anglian upstarts Ipswich Town.
Away by Johnson, only as far as Tyson! Oh, it's there! And Franz Tyson scores the goal that puts Ipswich ahead against the run of play. Owen. Dalglish. Oh, the linesman's flag for a foul by Tyson, and the referee has given a penalty. Now, Ipswich surround the referee. It looked innocuous to them. The linesman actually, in my view, made the difference there. He flagged. Oh, he went the right way, but it still got in. McDermott equalises for Liverpool with his 11th goal of the season for them. And Tyson is still arguing about the original decision.
With the spoils shared, Ipswich was still a point clear of the champions. Ipswich Town were the surprise package of the early 80s. Bobby Robson had fashioned a cup-winning team in 1978 and was now building a squad to challenge for the league title.
I was king of the castle really. I knew my club, I ran the club. And I had a good team anyway.
We thought we were going to win the league from the start. We had a good 12 players. We really fancied our chances.
Ipswich were a hell of a side, a very exciting side, as you said, a lot of flair.
Robson had turned Ipswich into a side to be feared.
Oh, that's Gates, he's going to hit that one. Well, Gates has a lot of time. Burley's cross. And John Walker's in for the second.
Well, Bobby was great, you know, he just let you get on with it. He didn't interfere, he didn't tinker too much.
I was seeing the fruits of my labour. And I had a great quality of life, had a great chairman, had a bunch of fine players.
We got them well organised, brought in some exceptional players.
We weren't scared of anyone, to be honest, nobody.
Most footballers spent their summer breaks playing golf and working on their tans. But half of the Ipswich Town squad had done weeks of hard labour in a prisoner of war camp.
It was hard work. People think it was easy.
The Tractor Boys of Ipswich had hit the big time, acting in the football meets prisoner of war movie blockbuster Escape to Victory.
I liked I still like Escape to Victory.
It's a film that gets a bit of stick at times, but who hasn't seen it?
Escape to Victory is one of the all-time greats.
Alongside the seriously non-footballing Michael Caine were some seriously non-thespian footballers. 2 of Bobby Robson's squad, Russell Osman and John Walk, were plucked from obscurity to star alongside footballing greats such as Ozzy Ardiles, Bobby Moore and the legend Pelé.
I wanted to be in it. Well, I was at Newcastle then, so I think they wouldn't have stood Pelé better than I stood me at the time with my accent.
It's a prisoner war camp in the middle of occupied Europe. What's Pelé doing there? He's not even pretending to be someone else. He's not even acting. It's just Pelé.
It all started when a Hollywood pal of Bobby Robson's visited the Ipswich training ground to cast footballing body doubles. While Walk and Osman hogged the limelight, Kevin Beattie landed the less glamorous role as Michael Caine's stand-in. The plot was simple. A group of POWs challenged the Third Reich to a match, beat them, and used the game as cover to get away from their captors. Get it? Escape to victory.
Thanks, Kobe. It's not quite like playing for Manchester, but it's better than not playing at all.
That summer, obviously we had to go to Budapest, and when we got there, I went straight into Michael Caine's dressing room. I had hair down here, and I'd seen all the lads. They'd all had their crops, obviously, because of prisoner of war. And within 10 minutes, my hair was like Michael Caine's.
Beattie sacrificed his classic 80s footballer perm for his art.
And to be quite honest, you know, we did look alike.
Escape to Victory was full of surprises, especially the casting of less than agile American action hero Sylvester Stallone as the team's goalie.
I was supposed to be an inept goalkeeper, so luckily I was tailor-made for the part.
Go down on the knee, but it doesn't get you.
Okay, boss, like this way or that way.
Sly Stallone. I think his goalkeeping's as good as his acting.
Give me some balls, Charlie.
Oh, you're gonna get serious now, huh?
Make your own mind up.
Let's go. Come on, don't be afraid of me. Come on. Yeah, what? Fast. Whoa!
Can you do with your mouth shut?
Hey! The mouth and the hands work together. It's a team.
He was a nice guy. He was very, very keen. He never played football in his life before, so it was very, very difficult for him, but he did quite well, I would say.
I thought some of the players were better actors than Stallone, to be honest with you. He was shocking in goal.
Not like that, Hands behind it, pull it into the chest. Don't worry about it.
Sylvester, if you look at the film, he doesn't look like a goalkeeper. I wouldn't pick him in my side, put it like that.
With his obvious lack of skill between the sticks, Stallone decided he needed to prove his manly status to his new teammates.
One night we're having a few pints in the hotel, and I think it might have been Paul Cooper. He's gone over to Stallone and says, the Beats challenge you to a arm wrestling competition. So next minute, he's come over to the table and says, because he was built like an outhouse, you know what I mean, for the films Rambo and Rocky and all that. And I thought, you're joking, aren't you?
Beattie took on Rambo in what promised to be a bruising battle.
So anyways, I've done the arm wrestling, I beat him.
Sly wasn't the best of losers.
He didn't speak to me the rest of the film. I got on with him great, it's just he didn't get on with me because he didn't like me beating him at arm wrestling.
When Argentinian World Cup winner Osvaldo Ardiles wasn't appearing on the big screen, he and fellow countryman Ricky Villa were playing for First Division Spurs.
Osvaldo, I know you've only been in the country about 12 hours, you must be rather tired, but what's your first impression of this club here, Tottenham Hotspur?
Oh, very good.
Aussie's signing set a trend, and before long the First Division was full of foreign players.
We were the first, not only the first two Argentinian, not only the first two South American, but we were the first two foreigners here. So it was a kind of revolution, say, because people wanted to see a different kind of football.
What's happening, Jerry?
New Football Mag Match Weekly.
Aussie soon capitalised on his newfound celebrity.
It's all right for kids, I suppose. Are you finished with my magazine, mate?
Don't miss part one of your colour calendar this week.
A new wave of foreigners soon followed. Arnold Muren and Frans Thijssen were two Dutch players who really wanted to play for Ipswich.
Bobby Robson went to see a player over there, and it could have been Ruud Gullit. But anyway, in that same game, there was an outstanding left footer on the other side, and that was Arnold Muren.
And a good run here by Muren has put him in the clear, and he buries a beautiful goal.
So Bobby bought Arnold, and I think 10-12 games into Arnold's career at Ipswich said, look son, is there any as good as you out there? And Arnold, by all accounts, said, no, there's one better, Frans Thijssen. So just on his word, Bobby went and bought him.
We bought the two Dutch players, and they were fabulous.
The two dazzling Dutchmen were the final piece in Robson's jigsaw.
Great shot, Thijssen again. He's scored!
making Ipswich serious title contenders.
They were good boys, they both spoke good English.
Muren's getting into the centre-ball position, so is Ward. Here's Muren. And can this one fall to Mariner? No. It might well fall to Tyson, though. He's got it. Tyson now. Tyson again.
They were a big influence in our success, to be honest. I think Robson saw what the sort of players we needed, and they too were the icing on the cake.
He's got another man to get by yet, and then into the back of the net.
It took a few games to settle in, but once they settled in, it was just a joy to play alongside them.
That's Tyson, certainly not the man to drop the ball in front of.
Aston Villa were the other surprise team of the year. They hadn't won a championship for 70 years, but if they beat Midland rivals Leicester City, they could go top of the table.
First time ball off the Swain. With Derbyshire. Andrew. Barry Shaw breaks the deadlock. Beautiful goal.
The clumsy boots pick up rules that people think so dashing. So what's the point of robbery when nothing is worth taking? It's quite a tough to tell a squat the big mistake he's making.
Beautiful goal. Oh, what a cracker. From Gordon Cowan.
By November, Villa had moved 3 points clear of Ipswich. European champions Forest were third. In part 2, legendary soccer bad boy Frank Worthington keeps on scoring.
I've had the pleasure of a lot of very, very attractive, very good-looking ladies. I just think they're the best thing since football.
And while some Brits had escaped to victory, others were escaping to America.
When I first went there, if you could, if someone whacked the ball high, they would cheer. Wow, look, he can kick that ball. Look how high it's gone.
Welcome back to Football Year's 1980-81 season, where Prince Charles proposed to Lady Diana Spencer, who charmed the nation with princessly things like her bedazzling smile, polite behaviour, charity work and see-through dresses. The crown prince of the small screen was actor Larry Hagman, who starred in Dallas, the highest-rating soap of the time. His character, scheming baddie J.R. Ewing, was gunned down, and for millions of UK viewers, one question hung in the air. Who shot J.R.?
Everybody wants to know who shot you.
Mm-hmm. Even the Queen Mother.
But you're not giving any hints just yet.
Oh, no. You gotta wait till, what is it, Saturday?
Football had its own JR, Birmingham City's own rhinestone cowboy, legendary playboy, Frankie Worthington.
Thought he was a cowboy, still does to this day. He wears the boots, he wears the lace tie, cowboy shirt, and even a hat as well.
Oh, man, Frank, he scores that classic goal, doesn't he?
Worthington now from Dowding's header, and Worthington! And what a beautiful Worthington goal!
The guy was, he showboated in most games. He was absolutely brilliant. Everybody wanted to be Frank Worthington.
He was different, and he played his football in a charismatic sort of manner, and off the field he was fairly flamboyant as well.
I've had the pleasure of a lot of very, very attractive, very good-looking ladies. And I just think they're the best thing since football.
Notably, he did like a model, didn't he?
Good-looking fella, why not? Single, good luck to him.
Frank's extracurricular activities cost him the chance of a dream move to the team of the 70s.
Liverpool came in for him. He went for a medical, and they said, everything's fine, you're in good shape. We've got one little problem, your blood pressure's high.
Bill Shankly said to me, if you go to Mallorca, have a good rest, come back, and if your blood pressure's down, the deal will go through.
But Frank had other plans.
I was out in Mallorca for a rest, and I ended up not getting as much rest as I should have, because I met this wonderful, gorgeous female from Belgium.
He came back 2 weeks later, went back to Liverpool. His blood pressure had gone up 7 points. And the deal fell through.
Probably I didn't do myself any favours in not getting as much rest as I should have.
And that's why he never played for Liverpool.
Just before Christmas, leaving a trail of broken hearts across the Midlands and East Anglia, Ipswich had a hot date with Frank and the boys at Birmingham City.
Really? Good cross. Good goal. Barrett has got it. 1-0.
Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat?
Muren. And a good fine goal. John Walker's got it there. 2-0.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one.
Touch back to Brazil.
Another one bites the dust.
And it's 3-0. Alan Brazil. Down the left side. Ross Osman. Touch on. And Ainsko will score for Birmingham City.
The Ipswich Tractor Boys' victory ploughed them up to third in the league behind Aston Villa and champions Liverpool. Frank Worthington wasn't the only fella struggling to get into the 80s. There were the management kings of cool too. Cigar-toting John Bond was in charge at Norwich, and fedora-clad big Malcolm Allison was the main man at Manchester City. They were both clinging to the decade that time forgot.
They were the original bling bling boys. Malcolm Allison probably started it. This whole thing, we had the big hat and the fur coat and stuff.
Is Malcolm Allison showing himself to the crowd in his usual style.
It's class, isn't it? Sheer class.
He played hard on the pitch, on the training ground, and he also played very hard off it. You know, if you own a Richmond, I think it was, in the Bath. Wonderful.
He was the George Best of managers.
The main thing was, as I said, it doesn't matter how you look or what you do, you can carry it off any way you want. You've got to get results.
And results weren't going right for Allison's Manchester City. No amount of fedoras or cigars were helping his ailing team.
Big Mal, you know, big-hearted, big character, big sort of charismatic figure who sunk Manchester City into debt.
Malcolm had sold off most of the experienced quality players, and for some reason he felt he wanted to start from scratch.
City were in the relegation zone and desperately needed to beat champions Liverpool.
Never quite sure which way he'll turn. And got it back onto his left foot. Always the danger. 5 of them in this break. Lee tries the shot out. What a shot it was too. 3-0 the scoreline, and Manchester City are sunk.
The result was a disaster for Allison. In City, a TV docu-soap that rivaled Dallas for its ridiculous plot lines, Chairman Peter Swales, a man with a champion comb-over hairstyle, had bad news for Big Mal.
We talked about the club's position, and I put it to them, asked them to, if they'd like to, I don't think like's the word, but if they'd resign from the position of manager and coach, and that's what they've done.
After his sacking, Malcolm sought solace from his old mate John Bond. Norwich City manager Bond learned all he knew about Huggy Bear fashion accessorising and partying hard from his longtime buddy and fellow fan of the sheepskin car coat, Big Mal. Wonder how many Malibu and pineapples it took for Bondy to mention he had a new job as manager of, yes, you've guessed it, Manchester City.
I won't beat about the bush, Johnny. It's subject to having that sort of Norwich side out, compensation side, you know, we'd like to offer you the job.
Oh, that's very nice. I'd be pleased to accept it.
John Bond was the saviour kind of thing. He was going to do things, even though we've never heard of him.
See me walking around, I'm the boy about town that you heard of.
He was a very charismatic person. You know, he was flamboyant in the way he dressed. I think he wanted his team to reflect that flamboyance and win in an attractive, attacking way.
I'm always like, though, to win with a little bit more style.
John Bonds used to smoke cigars that were thicker than my leg. And you see him like that, and he couldn't speak because he'd have a cigar that was massive.
Big Mal took a job in the smoke with Crystal Palace, but the feud with his old mate Bondy smouldered on. Allison hadn't forgiven John for climbing into his manager's chair at Main Road before the stench of his last cigar had cleared.
Well, it's amazing game, football. You know, all of a sudden, John Bond's a genius. He bought 3 players and made Manchester City play. I wonder why he never could do it before, in the previous 12 years of management.
The Bond-Allison spat was the talk of football, and as always, the FA Cup got into the drama. Allison's Palace and Bond's City would meet at Main Road. Malcolm returned to Manchester every bit the conquering hero. Whilst John Bond took his seat in the stands with the Man City chairman.
The pleasure is to play, ain't no difference what you say.
Kenzie tries the shot, Boyer was in fast, and the referee has given a penalty. Reeves against Fry, 1-0.
Playing for the high wall, dancing with the...
Hutchison to play it in again, this time low, flick from Power, and it's got it. Pass into his own penalty area, and he could play the penalty too. Reeves shot, and Boyer follows up.
Double up a quit, double strike a split, the ace of spades, the ace of spades.
But Ransom will play it in once more, and that's goal number 4 by Reeves. Total defeat for Malcolm Allison. The victory complete now for Manchester City.
A 4-0 defeat was too much for Allison, who was strangely tight-lipped after the game. Six weeks later, there was a coup down at Palace, and the King of Cool lost his second job of the season. At Main Road, John Bond's reborn City set their sights on Wembley. One man who could never be accused of being stylish or charismatic was Aston Villa manager Ron Saunders. He preferred the prison camp commandant approach to management.
Ron Saunders always looked quite severe, actually, as I remember.
You looked at Ron Saunders, you could mentally see the SS cap. You just knew that's how he took players off at half-time. For you, as the game is over.
I couldn't care less, really, whether people liked me or otherwise.
Our manager was pretty damn beat, but what he had there was everybody was working and fighting for him and giving their all.
Headmasterly Ron ran a tight ship.
I expect problems every day. If I didn't have problems every day, I'd stay in bed.
Not only was it lights out at 10, Saunders checked up on his young charges.
Going on a morning for training, and he'd come up and put his arm around you and give you a cuddle.
I'm employed by the club because we've got problems.
His way of boosting you or whatever it was, but he was also checking whether you'd been out drinking the night before.
My job's to sort him out.
The one thing he did have was a very, very high work ethic.
Life's not just about laughing.
If he didn't have a work ethic with Ron, you wouldn't get in his team.
Football is a serious business because it's your job.
Ron was so serious about winning the league that he made a solemn pledge to his players.
Have a quick drink and then give a quick smile.
And I'm sure it'll be worth the wait, Ron. Villa continued to surprise everyone as they maintained their title challenge. As they took on Nottingham Forest, victory would put them top of the table.
Ward. That's a nice looking... Oh, that was a push. Yes, a penalty. Robertson. He's got that one all right. 1-0, Aston Villa. Attacking Anderson. I'm looking for Weird. Yes! A very, very well-constructed goal.
Villa's win saw them draw level with champions Liverpool on top spot. Peter Shilton was the rock upon which Brian Clough had built his 1979 championship winning team. As England keeper, Shilts was a national hero.
Peter was the biggest player at that time. There's no doubt, you know, outstanding footballer. It was big news.
In 1981, it wasn't Shilt's safe hands making the headlines, it was his wandering eye.
He had the little thing in the back of the car with Tina.
Mr. Street had caught Mrs. Street playing away with the England goalkeeper, and Mrs. Shilts was none too pleased. Shilts tried to make a quick exit.
And it didn't work.
But the safest hands in Britain weren't so safe behind the wheel. And a tree leapt out in front of him.
And then gets caught and has that big scar under his chin.
My girl's mad at me.
And when Shilton turned up at Highbury, the North Bank showed no mercy. Tina's name rang round the stadium.
Tina, Tina, Tina.
Looking to get in there, Shilton slipped and came back beautifully.
Poor Shilts, wherever he played, the away supporters would give him absolute pelters.
The great card was Tina's on the North Bank. Tina's on the North Bank, Tina, which he took very well and waved.
The cheeky London fans' colossal wit didn't seem to be affecting Shilton's game.
He took it in his stride, he knew he'd done wrong, and he came out and he didn't hide away.
Tina, Tina, Tina.
Peter Shilton, who's gathered up one or two unwelcome headlines this week.
Tina's on the North Bank.
And 5 stitches in his chin as a result of a little car accident.
Tina, Tina, Tina.
But I must say his goalkeeping has been absolutely immaculate this afternoon.
Safe in the knowledge that Mr. Street couldn't get to him on the pitch at Highbury.
Tina, Tina, Tina.
Tina's on the North Bank. Tina's on the North Bank.
Whoops! Didn't see that one coming.
And the goal is given. Shilton can't believe it, but the linesman has given the goal. And I say, my first view of that is, that didn't cross the line.
And after the match, Maverick manager Brian Clough obviously didn't realise that Shilts was busy most evenings.
Peter Shilton, I'd play him tonight if we were kicking off at 10 o'clock again.
Tina, Tina, Tina.
Everybody makes mistakes in life, the linesman, the referee, I do. It's like letting a bad goal in, it's in the past, you look forward to the next game.
Tina's on the North Bank.
The Rowdies went here, the Rowdies went there, they kicked the ball around. The Rowdies went here, the Rowdies went there, then they fall on the ground. Oh, the Rowdies, the Rowdies, the Rowdies are kicking the ground.
In the early 80s, the Americans had discovered football and reinvented it with their usual tasteful restraint.
It's not known as football in America, you have to call it soccer.
When I first went there, if you could, you know, if someone whacked the ball high, they would cheer, you know, wow, look, he can kick that ball, look how high it's gone.
Their appreciation of the game may have been primitive, but the Yanks invested millions into the NASL. They borrowed American football stadiums with parking for 25,000 vehicles, animated scoreboards and a dedicated press gallery. The Americans had a lot of ideas on how to improve the sport, including helpful announcements to explain the rules of the game. The most outlandish proposal was the goalkeepers would be kitted out with crash helmets.
Obviously, being American there to try and get somebody in a crash helmet, because they're big cowardly custards who can't play any sport without having padding and crash helmets on.
Where I come from, they think you're a puff if you put a cap on. Just shield your eyes from the sun.
There's gold in them there hills, and it didn't take long before footballing mercenaries flooded stateside.
Every player who'd sort of come to his end of time had just decided to shoot off to America and earn themselves a bit of money.
The NASL was a haven for footballing stars. It was a lovely, relaxed atmosphere. Pelé was even allowed to wear his own clothes on the pitch. Along with Irishman George Best and German Franz Beckenbauer, these stars guaranteed millions of dollars in admission fees.
When you had the likes of Pelé and Beckenbauer, obviously not being able to believe their luck that gullible Americans were paying them millions of quid to kick a ball about in the middle of Florida surrounded by teenage cheerleaders. And then you had what they used to call, I believe, the journeyman.
One of those ready to take up the cheerleader challenge was Man City's Dennis Chewett.
It was something I just fancied I could do, particularly because at the time North American Soccer League was the centre of the new football era.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the champions of the North American Soccer League, the Cosmos.
When Pelé left the New York Cosmos, it triggered a global hunt for a man with skills to fill the most famous boots in football.
I was brought to replace Pelé in the side, and we had Georgie Kinnelly up front with a young boy from the Midlands, Steve Hunt, and I replaced Pelé in that front three.
All these English players lying through their team. Yeah, I played 917 times for England. Yeah, I'm England's top scorer. 1,012 goals I got.
Another of these British footballing gods was none other than Bolton Wanderers star Sam Allardyce.
Sam Allardyce? What, the Sam Allardyce? Really? He did that? For Bolton? We'll have him.
Pelé must have gone. What the? Who brought him over?
For every 100 journeymen, there was a great player, like the still majestic, when sober, George Best.
George could still do it, but some of them couldn't. And of course, it stopped some of the young Americans getting into the side. But the problem was they had to sell it to the American public. So they had to get these people in to attract the crowds. But unfortunately, a lot of them took the money and didn't perform. They were well past their best.
Back in England in mid-April, top-of-the-table Villa met second-placed Ipswich. The game was a potential title decider.
Hopeful ball downfield, McNaught. Well, Ken McNaught has gone to sleep here. Here's an opportunity for Ipswich. Alan Brazil has scored for Ipswich. 1-0 to Ipswich Town. Hopeful ball forward. Flicked on. Opportunity. Peter Wynn. Very good save indeed. Still the pressure on. This game is as tight as you might expect between two teams right at the top of the table. Here's Shaw now for Villa, goes down. Penalty surely. Shaw goes down, but the referee doesn't want to know. Osman's tackle, the referee doesn't want to know. Scrappy, tight in midfield. Now a chance for Ipswich. Eric Gates, he might try a shot. Here he does. Wonderful effort from Eric Gates. 2-0 to Ipswich Town. With a little chest down. Here's Shaw. Shaw has put Aston Villa back in with a chance.
The games were coming thick and fast for Ipswich, who had reduced Villa's lead to 3 points. Meanwhile, champions Liverpool were nowhere to be seen. Coming up in part 3, Ozzy hits the right notes with Chaz and Dave on the Wembley Trail.
They made me sing a line that I still regret it to this day.
And John Bond's revived Man City go head-to-head with Spurs, while Spurs' Graham Roberts goes head-to-foot with teammate Chris Hughton in the 100th FA Cup final.
And Chrissy just swung his foot and just kicked me right in the mouth.
Gordon Cowans for 1-0 Villa.
Welcome back to football years 1980-81. Aston Villa had seen off the challenge of champions Liverpool. The only team standing in the way of their first title for 70 years was Ipswich. The race for the title came down to the last Saturday of the season. If Ipswich won and Villa lost, Ipswich would only have to win their last game of the season to clinch the title. Ipswich travelled to lowly Middlesbrough.
We knew Villa had a hard game. This was their last game, they were at Highbury, and we knew that Arsenal could do us a favour.
With Villa losing to Arsenal, Ipswich needed only keep a clean sheet in the second half to stay in the championship race.
Brazil again. Got the cross in. Mariner. It's there. 1-0. Paul Mariner.
1-0 up at half-time we were.
At half-time, Ipswich were feeling confident as news filtered through from Highbury.
We heard sort of Arsenal were beating Villa, so we actually just had to play 45 minutes to win the league.
So McDermott's in there. Young. Willie Young. Jennings coming very confidently. What authority he's got. Hooked out there for McDermott to chase against Swain. And this is McDermott for Arsenal. He's got 2 to beat now. There's the first one. And he shoots in! What a fine goal by Brian McDermott!
We were in the dressing room, come on boys, what an opportunity.
Unfortunately for Ipswich, it's a funny old game.
Yankovic.
And of course we blew it. There was a guy I'll never forget him, Bosko Yankovic. A Yugoslav player, scored 2 headers against us.
Yankovic. Oh, that's 2-0. Big Bosko's done it again. What a super goal from Bosko Yankovic.
And we lost 2-1 to Borough.
And the Villa fans are roaring again at the clock end. And Middlesbrough must have scored again to take the lead against Ipswich. And if they have, that's the championship for Villa, even though they're 2 down here.
It was heartbreaking. It was a pity. We were very sorry about it. We cried a bit.
We lost the game but won the championship.
Villa, I think, lost 2-0, but they were champions.
Amazing scenes. Ron Saunders is in the incredible position of seeing his own team 2 goals down, but may still be winners of the First Division title. Well, this is quite extraordinary if you think about it. They're celebrating, even though their own team here have done nothing to help themselves. And the referee's blown and they're going for the dressing room as the crowd comes on, because Aston Villa, beaten here 2-0, doesn't matter. They are the champions for the first time since 1910.
So see, I think it was us that lost it, not Villa who won it. I think it was the amount of games that took its toll. And basically being in 3 competitions as well took its toll.
The league table doesn't tell him lies after 30 or 40 games, and at the end of the season, the champs could be 1 more games.
Villa had won the league by 4 points and celebrated with some posh beer. Manager Ron was typically overjoyed.
Is this the greatest day of your life?
No, the greatest day of my life was when my eldest boy was born, without a doubt. When I did a few somersaults. I don't know why.
It's up to you. What's your pleasure?
Ron may not have been celebrating, but he did have a certain spring in his step.
Ladies and gentlemen, wait for it. I will smile last.
Cheeky Ron even kept his promise and grimaced for the fans.
Are you ready? It's a celebration.
Ozzy's going to Wembley, his knees have gone all trembling.
Inspired by 2 Argentines, Ardiles and Villa, Tottenham had reached the FA Cup final. Just as the 2 South Americans had settled down to life in London, along came a massive culture shock.
Every year that the football clubs that got to the cup final came out with a song, some good, some not so good. I think that Tottenham came up with Spurs are going to Wembley.
Cockney knees up merchants Chaz and Dave convinced Tottenham they could get them to #1. Oh, happy days. And core blimey, Governor, the mighty Chaz and Dave had a cunning plan to get the song to #1. Their secret weapon was Argentine exocet, Ozzy Ardiles.
He's had a dream for a year or 2.
Ozzy was a big name, and to be honest, like, what a name to have, Ozzy's Dream.
Ozzy's dream turned him into a national star.
They made me sing a line that I still regret it to this day.
Everybody was just waiting for that one line.
We know you're gonna play a blinder.
In the cup for Tottenham.
Win the cup for Tottenham. Ozzy's little voice there.
On their way to Wembley.
Everyone went, oh bless him, look, he can't even say Tottenham, sweetheart.
I go quite misty-eyed thinking about that.
Really, the lines make the song a little bit special, or make it a classic.
Spurs' song climbed the charts, but could Ozzy's Latin influence win Tottenham their first trophy of the decade against John Bond's rejuvenated Manchester City side in the FA Cup final?
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. And you may find
Ransom Mike with an early ball played in there. And no! By Hutchison!
We scored, and I just couldn't believe that Tommy Hutchinson had scored that goal, and I was just like running around the living room. We've scored!
Well, here's the man, Tommy Hutchison. Oh, there's the man who bought him.
John Bond's spending spree was bearing fruit, but for one of Tottenham's Argentinians, Ozzy's dream was about to become Ricky's nightmare.
The sad face of a man who's been withdrawn during an FA Cup final.
Carlo Villa, he had a bit of a bad game for us, by his standards, and I remember coming off, and I remember him walking down the side of the ground going into the change room early.
Nobody likes being taken off, and Ricky just felt I think he felt disappointed with his own performance.
In Argentina, you cannot stay in the bench because it could be a problem. You may say something to the referee, or it could be so they don't allow you to be in the bench.
Tottenham hardman Graham Roberts liked the scrap, but nothing could have prepared him for the unprovoked attack he suffered on the day.
There was a long ball up the line and Chrissy was sort of facing the ball. The ball's gone over his head and I've run him and I've gone to head it.
Reeves still in a bit of trouble there.
He went to kick the ball and in fact I think he kicked him in the head. And it could be a bit nasty, that one.
Same as it ever was.
And Chrissy just swung his foot and just kicked me right in the mouth. And there was blood everywhere and the doctor didn't want me to play. No, he was, you know, adamant that I was dazed and I'd lost my teeth and I had cut on my head.
That was as nasty one as I've seen for a long time.
You know, I just said, well, just patch me up and get me back out there, worry about it afterwards.
Twice he's had it taken off him, and that's unlike him, and Ardiles is the man who's stolen it this time. Gow coming back at him and concedes the free kick.
Then the horrible free kick.
I'll never forget, Joe Corrigan had sorted out the wall, got everybody to get into the wall.
He's well to the right of goal.
And I can still see it now. Sort of going off to that way, wasn't it? And then Hutchinson sort of goes like that, and it kind of goes bop. And it kind of just went that way, like that.
Hoddle curling in, an own goal by Hutchison. I think Joe Corrigan would have got it, but there's Hutchison, and there's the goal.
I don't know what Tommy was trying to do when he was defending the free kick, because Tommy's strength is not defending.
Tommy Hutchinson, who shouldn't have even been in there, finishes scoring equaliser. One at each end. What a cup final he's had.
And I was devastated, absolutely devastated.
So for the first time since 1970, and only the second time in Wembley history, the FA Cup final goes to a replay.
They deserve to win. We have a lucky escape, actually.
On a Thursday night in May 1981, the FA Cup final had its first ever replay at Wembley. Fittingly, it turned into the match of the season.
Roberts getting that away.
When we kicked off that night, you could see it sense in Ricky in the replay that he was ready for the game. Maybe the first game it overawed him, but the second game he was ready for it. 8 minutes into the game, it was a deflection from Ozzy and went to Ricky, and the next minute the ball was in the back of the net.
It was a lucky goal. It was a rebound and Ricky was in the right place.
Ricky Villa, right up amongst the front runners, puts Spurs into the lead.
This is why this goal was so important for him. Because after he scored this goal, his confidence started to grow and grow and grow.
But it's Ray Ramsey hit a long one there towards Dave Bennett. Miller was up well, Houghton was in there too. Hutchison to McKenzie. Oh, a tremendous goal! Steve McKenzie. Reeves for Bennett. And a penalty. And he's fouled by Reeves, and City are in the lead.
We've played particularly well. We've got a 2-1 lead, and then John Bond says to me, you know, he felt that Spurs were just starting to wilt a little bit.
Everybody thought we had blown it, but we had some characters in our team, and you know, we never ever lied down, and we kept battling.
Little chip in there. Can Archibald get in there?
Having been substituted in the first match, Ricky Villa felt he had a point to prove.
Tony Galvin crotches up ahead, but he might be offside, and that maybe was why Galvin was reluctant to release it. Now he can find Villa.
Once he got it, you know, everybody just went, pass it, no, and he's gone past 2 or 3.
You're sort of watching him and you're thinking, well, where can he go from here? And he's drifted past into the edge of the box, and you're thinking, well, for goodness sake, someone must get a tackle in, he's in our box.
And he can really stab them.
And suddenly he was in front of the goalkeeper.
And you knew then that it was going to end up in the back of the net.
Gold-plated hero here for Tottenham tonight, Ricky Villa.
Villa's amazing goal brought the house down, and for City there was no coming back.
Spurs have won the 100th FA Cup final 2 goals by Ricky Villa, and the winner a real vintage effort. Our dealers, the man who dreamt about winning at Wembley, said this after the World Cup final was his most important game.
So we were the first two Argentinians, the first two foreigners to win the FA Cup, and so it was really a very special moment.
So Ozzy's dream may have become reality, but it was his Argentine teammate Ricky Villa who won the cup for Tottenham.